Hey guys, welcome to Chef Grace's Place. Today is actually going to be the season finale because I have to go fly around and make more money until after the holidays. And we have a very special guest, Jasmine Moreno from City Green.
Hi. Hello, everybody. How are we doing today?
So I found City Green on my Instagram, and it is like an urban farming organization. And I was very surprised that it was in the part of New Jersey that I come from. So I was like, I have to learn more about this organization. So Jasmine, why don't you tell us a little bit more about City Green?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So we are an urban farming organization. We've been around for, like 16 years now, working in North Jersey. So we kind of started our work in Paterson and grew from there throughout Passaic County, Bergen County, parts of Morris County and Essex County, where we have programming that runs from preschool all the way through senior citizens. So what we try to do is make sure that our neighbors, our community that we're in, all know about where their food comes from, how to get fresh, healthy food, what to do with that fresh, healthy food, and then reestablishing connections to nature. So we are an urban farming and gardening organization, working with community partners in order to start school gardens and run after-school garden programs and run community gardens. And we even have our own farm here in Clifton and another one in Morris County and not all of New Jersey, where we grow food and then distribute it through retail outlets like City Green's Vegemobile, for example, or we work with partners like food pantries to do food distribution as well.
And I also think I saw something on your Instagram where you could use like WIC or food stamps to buy.
Oh yeah, that is that is one of the projects that we are most proud of because it really creates this benefit for shoppers and farmers, right where it counts. And what that means, it's called a nutrition incentive program. You actually find them in farmers markets all over the country. And here in New Jersey, City Green operates, the nutrition incentive program with partner farmers markets as well as our own farmers markets. So basically what happens when you come shopping at a farmers market that offers a nutrition incentive program, you use your SNAP card. In every state, they're kind of different, but in New Jersey, they're called Families First. So I go to the City Green farm stand and I spend $10 on my Families First card, and then I get 10 good food bucks so that I can keep shopping and essentially double my dollar. So that works for the SNAP customer, right? So they're spending $10 and getting $20 worth of locally grown fresh produce. And then for example, our participating farmers markets, at the end of the day, these like good food bucks, the farmers take them, right? And so now if I'm like Farmer Jasmine at the West Windsor Farmers Market, at the end of the day, I have 50 good food bucks. So that means that a SNAP customers spent $50 more, got $50 more of fresh produce, but then, Farmer Jasmine gets to redeem them to the farmers market, and I actually get $50 in cash in exchange for those good food bucks. So SNAP customers are getting more food and farmers are getting increased incomes through this program.
That's amazing because really as someone who, during the pandemic, I had to use unemployment and I had to use food stamps. And I didn't know until pretty much that was going to run out, that it was worth double. But one of the things I think that's also very important about this program is it shows you what to do with the fresh produce because, during the pandemic, I saw people, one of the best examples was my neighbor got a giant case of yellow summer squash, but didn't know what to do with it. And she was going to throw it out because she just didn't know how to cook it. Mm-hmm. So the education part of, this is what you do with the produce is really important. So how did it get started in Paterson?
Well, actually, our current executive director, Jennifer Papa, is the founder of the organization. And, she's her family's from this area, and she worked with community members. Her first garden that she helped start was called the Women of Faith Community Garden in Patterson. And it was with a Bible study group. And they really had gardening knowledge and skills, but what they needed was access to land and water and healthy soil to bring in. And so that's where, Jennifer and like the beginning of City Green was helping groups like that find the resources, connect them to resources that they need in order to start their gardens. But quickly thereafter, it became very evident the people who were calling us, the people who were asking for our programming, were youth serving organizations, libraries, YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, schools. And so, even though we started as a community gardening organization, we quickly realized that that the demand was in programs for children. And so that's how we developed our super extensive offering of services for youth serving organizations in schools, preschools, elementary schools, high school students, you name it. So we have a program or an opportunity for youth for all ages.
So just a little bit of background for our viewers. Patterson, New Jersey is I used to work at Eva's Village. I used to teach pastry there for a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And it is not, it's a dangerous neighborhood for the most part. It used to be they used to have like a silk factory a long time ago. There's not a lot of industry. There's the jail, there's Willie P. Patterson.
But it's like a lot of cities, I would say, on the East Coast that used to be manufacturing centers. And then after kind of manufacturing disappeared, right, it left a void in the city's economy and the vibrancy. And so Patterson, like many cities, the size has not been able to recover. But what I do find that Patterson has is like vibrancy and people. When you go downtown Patterson, you don't feel like it's a city necessarily like in need because the people are so energetic. The Main Street has shops everywhere. People are shopping. People are going to restaurants all over in Patterson. So I really appreciate that we have this it's always simmering. There's always something to do, something to see, whether it's the Great Falls or the river. But yes, Patterson, could really, really benefit from like an influx of, a large corporation or, a big, we'd call like an institution, an employment institution that would be able to provide employment and influx some private funding into the city.
Well, one of the things, kind of why I bring it up, because it's so urban and stuff. So how, obviously there's a lot of pollution in urban cities. So how does urban farming benefit that, making it less polluted? And also, do you use just raised beds or do you actually garden in the ground?
We garden in raised beds. So if we're just talking about Patterson specifically, yes, we do all of our gardening in raised beds, except for at the City Greens Learning Garden, which is in Eastside Park. And there we've done soil testing and it's in a park. It was never like a residence or an industrial site over there. So it's always been a park. So, but that soil's been tested. But yes, about the pollution. So, that's an issue that a lot of the middle schoolers and high schoolers that we talk to always bring up. And it's about the pollution and pollution. And like you said, it's a densely populated city. New Jersey, for out-of-state listeners, is the most densely populated state. We have more people per square mile than anybody else. And Patterson's, a densely populated city and a densely populated state. So more people equals more stuff all over the place. So, what we imagine our role is like helping students and young adults have those conversations. We also participate in city-led cleanup events clean, like pollution pickup is not, is not necessarily within our mission, but what we do to promote and protect green spaces, right? So for example, on the side of the Boys and Girls Club in Patterson on 21st Avenue, if you know it, we have like a little after school garden. It's called the City Sprouts Garden there, where we work with children. And that's the place where we would be teaching kids in a one-on-one basis, what the value of green space is, keeping it maintained, keeping it clean, and then even more so one step further by making it beautiful. And we really believe in one of our philosophies here at City Green is the transformative power of beauty. And if you walk by something and you see a beautiful garden and you see beautiful flowers, we think that's like a pollution deterrent, right? If everybody is all they're seeing is like pollution, then it breeds more, and it invites it and it makes it think like it's okay. So what we do with our spaces is really try to create special and beautiful places where people feel pride in their communities, where they feel like they can take part in maintaining their communities and using the garden space, for children and for adults to be able to access food and, like I said, reconnect with nature and, take maybe like find a carrot, right? Like pull a carrot out of the ground, simple things like that. But it's one of the most exciting things to see children pull carrots or radishes out of the ground. That's really what's building that relationship with the natural world.
So that's so cool. But also, it's also interesting. I was just learning about sunflowers and how they help take like radiation out of the soil. Is there any other, do you do any like plants like growing like that for the pollution or no?
No, what we actually do is something a little bit different that's called regenerative agriculture. So that has to do with our farming practices. And basically what that means is that we are using farming practices or improving the soil health like in our fields. So we're using plants, we're using methods like low tractor use and the way that we use our irrigation all together help actually to leave this place better than we found it.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you get involved in City Green?
That's a great question. I have been here for 10 years now. And this was a change of career for myself. I was not like a nonprofit. I had not been raised in a nonprofit world. I was actually waiting tables and working at doctor's offices and doing a wide variety of things. And I knew in my heart that two things happened. I knew that I wanted to work in a community gardening or food access organization. And at the same time that I was realizing, that's kind of what I wanted to do, quote unquote, the food town that was in Patterson closed. And that impacted me very personally. That's where my grandmother shopped. That's where my aunt used to get all her groceries. I had, at the same time that I had started thinking about food access as a justice issue and as a political issue that requires solutions, I also was witnessing, the access of fresh food and affordable, healthy produce options, in my own neighborhood and where my family lives, being taken away. So just like little light bulbs started going off in my head. And I actually saw about City Green and the Women of Faith Community Garden in a newspaper. I read about them. And I went to the website and I just sent an email over. And it took like 6 months later, but I got a reply. And Jen called me in for an interview and that was it. And I started off as an intern. I started here part-time 2 days a week, and I slowly was able to come on more hours and be promoted through the organization. I've had the fortune to be able to work in almost every program that the organization offers, which is really nice because we've grown so much. We have such a big staff now that we have all of our little departments. But back in the old days, it was, a handful of us just like packing our cars up with buckets and trowels and soil and gardening, with kids in different community gardens and helping farm and harvest and run markets, all at the same time.
So when when the food town closed, did that create like a food desert?
Absolutely. That was the last supermarket left in town. It absolutely created a food desert, or expanded the impacts of the food desert, because now there was small supermarkets left and even smaller corner stores. But you're from this area, so Pathmark is like was like the big supermarket that you would go to for all of your food, and they took coupons, and they actually, remember, showing my age, I used to double coupons back in the old days, and and that's where everybody basically went shopping. That was the big supermarket of the city.
Well, yeah, I was shocked when Pathmark closed, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even in neighborhoods that you wouldn't consider like your prototypical food desert, or I would say like like low access to fresh food. Pathmarks were closing at that time all over the place, and kind of leaving pockets of large swaths of people without access to supermarkets.
Yeah, and it was also it was a very big employer too.
It was a very big employer. Yeah.
Problem. So yeah, the food deserts from them closing. So then City Green kind of comes in with the government programs and stuff. So the food that the kids grow in the gardens and schools and stuff, that is also being sold, or is it just the stuff from the farm?
It's just the stuff from the farm. So our farms are for production purposes. The after school gardens, for example, at the Boys and Girls Club or at the library, those are called City Sprouts gardens, and those are teaching kids how to garden, how to water, how to harvest, and learning about their food, and then also doing recipes with them. And then at the schools, we really give a lot of that control over to the teachers and the principals, and they actually use school gardens however they want to. So we like to think of a school garden like an outdoor classroom, right? And you remember being in elementary school, how exciting it is when your teacher said, we're going to go outside and do this lesson. So the school garden gives teachers and schools the opportunity to have this like outside space for elementary school students to learn all different sorts of lessons, and the teachers get to apply language arts or math or reading or social studies or art in their own school gardens.
That's so cool. I remember when I was a kid, I got to go. I went to kindergarten in Bayonne, New Jersey, which is a very urban area. Yeah. And sorry, there are leaf blowing. Oh, it's so cool. All right. Today of all days. But I got to go out to a farm, and we got to pick our own vegetables, and then we came back and we made soup. So I think that is definitely one of the things that got me into cooking.
Right, and you remember it. Yeah. And we think that a lot of kids are falling in love with experiences like that, and going home and saying like, Mom, I want bell peppers, or I want carrots, because I tasted it on my field trip, or I tasted it at City Green.
Yeah. And how is it impacting the parents?
We like to think that the children are coming home, and it's the impact is going up. But we do know separately from the kids programs, that our markets grow every year, that the amount of SNAP customers that we're serving grows every year, that the amount of WIC customers that are being served grows every year. So we do know that there's a lot of parents out there who, as a parent myself, I know that like everybody wants to give their kids the highest quality, freshest food that they can find. So we see our role as making it available and making it affordable for parents to be able to do that.
Are there programs for adults for like how to cook the food and stuff like that?
Those kind of ended with the pandemic.
Yeah.
There were, we've tried to move a lot of that onto social media, and making sure that our customer base still knows what to do, even when we do, it's a big also part of our customer service, right? So when customers are shopping with us, we like to exchange ideas with them. We ask them what they're planning on cooking. If they have a question about the food, we like to be able to answer it. And those are kind of the little things that you get with shopping at a farmer's market. Any local farmer's market, you get to talk to your farmer, you get to talk to the staff at the table, and ask really good questions and get really good information about the food that you're going to cook.
As an adult, do you have like a program where you have adult volunteers that come help out on the farm?
Yeah, we do. It's called our Wednesday volunteer program. And every Wednesday, next week is the last week, because the weather's turning here in New Jersey. Maybe not today. But we have a Wednesday volunteer program, and in the morning, you can come here during the season and help in our gardens. You do planting and weeding and maintaining the native gardens here that we have in our farm eco center. And then on Wednesday evenings, it's the farm. So you work with the farm team in order to plant, harvest, weed, tend to crops, and do whatever farm tasks need to happen over here. So we offer it from April through October. So if there's anybody local listening and you want to be a City Green volunteer, go to our website. And you can sign up and find out all about our opportunities, or follow us on social media.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely put all the links in the description of the video or the audio if you're listening on Spotify. So yeah, it was great to interview you. Is there anything I didn't ask about City Green that people absolutely need to know?
No, but I was wanted to know, have you been here?
No, I didn't. That's the thing. Like, I didn't even know it was a thing. Like,
so we'll have to set something up maybe for next year. When we kind of open back up to the public, and we can show your viewers around and let them know what we're doing over here.
Yeah, I definitely. So, little housekeeping for the viewers too. So as most of my viewers know, I went back to flying. So before the pandemic, I was working as a international flight attendant. And before that, that's when I was doing all my chef stuff. But it's a different airline. It's a little, whenever you start at an airline, the pay isn't great. So I'm going to have to work pretty much all my days off between now and New Year's or whatever. So that's why this is the season finale.
Okay.
I'm going to be doing a short series called #AskChefGrace, so I can kind of keep it going. But also in the meantime, part of the thing that I'm going to save up for is more equipment. So I can go to places like City Green and have these conversations in person and be able to film them. So I have to get another microphone, and I have to do more research on the camera stuff because I'm a chef. I'm not a videographer.
I have no idea about any of this. So.
Yeah. So I'm learning on the fly.
Okay.
So if anyone out there has any suggestions, let me know. You can also I'll put links in the description if you want to, support Chef Grace's place financially for Patreon. And there's also going to be a Venmo link. But the best thing that anyone can do is share it, because
smash the subscribe button.
Yeah, I got the subscriber count.
Chef Grace, our friends, support Chef Grace.
Exactly. I need those watch hours. So yeah, if I can get monetized, then I can
So
grow.
I have a question for you. Like, what do you eat? Because you're so busy flying and in and out all the time. Do you ever get the chance to sit down for a home cooked meal?
So right now, I gotta say that like my skin is breaking out terribly because since I started flying again, there like all the food on the plane is so highly processed. And the way that it's scheduled, you get in the place, you know, I'm in like when everything's closed. And then you have like 10 hours of rest. So you sleep most of it and then you don't eat. So I started meal prepping this last trip, but it's difficult because I you know, I when it comes to like the plane itself, I definitely downgraded. I went from Boeing 787, which has like, it's huge. It's got 344 passengers, it's got ovens, it's got chillers, it's got bunk beds in the top of the cabin, to these tinier A320s, which are like smaller, but they only have a coffee pot. They don't have any refrigeration or ovens. And the refrigeration is a big deal because if you're working a 14-hour day and then your food, even with an ice pack in there, you know, it's going to be in a temperature danger zone. So for the first like 2 days or whatever, usually you're okay. But by the fourth day, like you don't want to eat that chicken salad you brought with you on the first day. So that's going to take some figuring out. But I think, you know, by the time I figure it out, I'll have some really good content about meal prepping at least.
Right. There you go.
Yeah. So
make lemonade. All right. Well, thank you again for reaching out to us to set this up. This was a lot of fun.
Yep. And hopefully I will see you in New Jersey soon.
Absolutely. Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.